Okay, this is a reaction video on one of my favorite subjects, at least in recent memory, is Germany. And this is from Wolters' World, how ugly tourists in Germany, how to upset Germans. Well, to be fair, I never really wanted to upset the Germans too much because I really enjoyed their country the time that I was there. I really haven't, I've given you little bits and pieces of my time when I was there. We arrived on June the 12th, 2006. I remember it so well because it was a couple days before my brother's birthday, and it was during the World Cup. Because the next day we went to Gelsenkirchen. We stayed in Frankfurt. We went to Gelsenkirchen for the U.S. mauling by the Czech Republic, and we uh, we went to Berlin on Tuesday. Stayed in Frankfurt on Thursday, on Wednesday and Thursday, and then we went to Kaiserslautern on uh, Friday and Saturday. We went to Kaiserslautern and watched get the lay of the land because we went there for the U.S. Italy game that was going to be played there that Saturday. It was ended up we didn't have tickets to that game. We ended up staying at a fan fest before we went back to our hotel, and then we ended up in Cologne on Sunday. But we had a great time. But I really enjoyed my time in Germany. But this is from Walter's World: Ugly Tourists in Germany, how not to upset the Germans, or how to upset Germans, which I don't want to do.
Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Freiburg, Germany. And today we're going to talk about how you could upset Germans when you come here as a traveler, because we want to make sure we're ingratiating ourselves with the locals, and we don't want to do the faux pas that might make our German.
I can think of a couple things I could write down. I can see the Brandenburg Gate, but I would imagine anything that has to do with World War II would probably be a bad place to start. But that's just a guess on that.
Friends a bit ärgerlich, a little upset, okay? And I think the first thing you need to realize, the first way you can upset a German is just being late. Germans are all about being pünktlich, about being on time. If you have a meeting and it's at 9 o'clock in the morning, that doesn't mean you show up at 9. That means you're in the office, you're in the room where the meeting's going to happen at 8.
That's kind of how I am, actually. I generally like to get there at least 10-15 minutes early before anything.
55, so right at 9 a.m., the questions start going, okay? So always be on time. And if you're going to be late, let the people know, because, one, they're not going to be appreciative that you're late, but they will want to know what's going on.
And I also noticed that on the trains in Germany, they always showed up on time. It wasn't. I don't ever think I recalled in the entire time that I was there that a train was actually late, either arriving or getting to the destination.
Now, another thing that might upset your German friends is if you get a little yiny, okay? Which I like to say is, yine is yes and no, ja and nein, put together, okay? It's kind of like, yeah, no, I'm not sure. Look, Germans do not like uncertainty. They do not like risk. They want to know what's going on. They want the certainty of, are you coming or not? And if you're kind of flippy-floppy, if you're thinking about ghosting your German friends, that stuff doesn't.
That's an American trait. We see a lot of Americans. I see a lot of Americans. Not every American, don't get me wrong. But you see a lot of Americans who are like that, like they can't make up their minds. You want to, yes, no, maybe, and that's just how it is.
Happen here, okay? You need to be more like, yes, I'm going to do it, no, I'm going to not, because if you're not, that kind of upsets them, because they want to make sure all their plans are set, okay? And I think one of the things that's important for you to know is, since the Germans are very direct, they're not insulted if you're direct to them. So if you don't want to do something or you can't do something, don't try to figure out an excuse. Just let them know, hey, I can't come, and they'll be okay with that. But just telling them yes and then not showing up, the whole ghosting thing, not cool here in Germany, okay? So have a heads up. Now, the third way you can upset Germans when you're here is if you assume that everybody in Germany is from Bavaria and...
You know, a lot of people don't really know what Bavaria or what the area of Bavaria is. Now, I do have an idea of where it's from, but I never ever assumed everybody was from the same place.
Where's lederhosen? Look, people wear lederhosen at Oktoberfest, and most of those are actually tourists, okay? Germany is a very diverse country. I mean, going to Munich and Bavaria is a very different experience than going to Hamburg or coming here to Freiburg or going to Berlin. You have such variety in this country that when they think that people are thinking they're all the same and they're all Bavarians with the big beer steins and stuff, that doesn't go over very well. And if you actually know Germans, you'll know that if they're not from Bavaria, they like to make fun of the Bavarians. Now, another thing that tourists do that might upset the locals, and it definitely will upset a few omas, grandmas, and opas, grandpas along the way, is if you jaywalk. And when I talk about jaywalking, I'm not saying like the middle of the road. I'm saying when you're at the crosswalk and the little Ampelmännchen, the street light guy is there telling you don't walk, and you go. I mean, I lived in Germany for a number of years, and when I've done that, like, people truly put their arm out and stop me, and they're like, what are you doing? Sein Vorbild für die Kinder. Be an example for the children. I'm like, there's no kids around here. There's no.
I stayed at the Le Meridien Hotel in Frankfurt, so I really didn't have this problem. Whenever we wanted to go someplace, it was easy just to go right around the corner. There was uh, a stairway that went underneath the street to get us to the train station, which was very, very nice, which I did on a regular basis. I didn't have to encounter that whole lot of that, but it didn't surprise. That doesn't surprise me. I could actually see Germans doing that. That's something that is a thing that I would certainly understand why they wouldn't want you to do that.
No cars. What's going on? No. Follow the rules, otherwise they're going to be upset. And crossing the street against the light is one of those things. There's even a saying, bei Rot musst du stehen, bei Grün darfst du gehen, which is by red you have to stay, but by green you're allowed to go. All right, so just know that, young, old, male, female, whatever, you just know the Germans are like, no, we're going to wait until the light lets us go, okay? Another thing that might upset your German friends when you're here, this is one thing that my students that have studied in Germany have brought up to me, and when I've had students that work with German exchange students, and that is, it might upset them if you don't agree with them on certain things, because Germans like to do a lot of research. They want to make sure they know as much as they can before they make decisions, so they feel that they have the best answer possible. And if you don't agree with them, they don't understand why you wouldn't, because they've done all this research. So that's what I've seen in business settings and group project settings, where
I didn't have to encounter a whole lot of that because I was around a lot of Germans, I guess. But I can certainly understand that. But again, there are people like me. People accuse me, and I probably rightfully so, of stirring the pot. I like to argue. I like to debate, and that's something that Americans love to do is debate. Um, just take the opposite side just for the sake of taking the opposite side. So yeah, I can certainly see why it would be a problem. That'd be a problem if I was in Germany.
people have gotten some upset feelings from both the Germans and from the locals, so just have a heads up with that. But don't think the Germans are all stiff and no fun. They will do parties. They will have a fun time with a party. And one thing I want to tell you, though, is you might upset people if you don't follow the party rules, okay? Because if your German friend of yours invites you to a party, they're inviting you. Not you and your friend and your other friends. No. It's very much just you are invited. There's no plus one. If you want a plus one, you need to ask them, and they'll probably say no, okay, or 9. But just know that they're very specific when they do ask you to come to a party, okay? So
That's clearly Berlin there.
so don't overdo it. Also, I learned this when I lived here for a number of years, is if you're going to be having a party, let's say you're staying here, you're going to school here, you're moving here, and you want to have a party and it's in your apartment building, you need to let your neighbors know that you're going to have that party. I mean, you don't have to invite them, but you need to let them know it's going to happen. Otherwise, they might be a little upset, which
That would seem to be common courtesy. First of all, if I've been invited to a party in Germany, you don't pick up plus one. You would, I think I would ask, hey, I've got a buddy here with me. Would you mind if he came along or he or she came along? And if that's not okay, that's not okay. I might decline on that, but on the behalf. But yeah, I think that would be common courtesy. If where I'm right now, if I'm going to have a party, I'd like to let my neighbors know so they're aware of it.
learned from a lady dumping a bucket of water into my apartment. So just have a heads up on that one. Now, another time you might see an upset German, and this isn't your fault at all, this is their fault, is if you're taking a train on a Friday or a Sunday when they're really, really busy, and you have a seat reservation, and you go to your seat reservation on the IC, and somebody's sitting in that seat. And you tell them, Entschuldigung, das ist meins. Like, excuse me, this is mine. Oh, they're not going to be happy because they got this seat and they're figuring no one's going to show up in it, so they're going to take it without a reservation. Don't be surprised if they ask you to show your reservation to prove it's your seat, and then they'll look at you like, oh, you took my seat. No.
We never had that problem. Whenever we were on the trains, every time there were reserved seats, and we just sat there wherever we wanted to, but nobody ever came and said that we were sitting in their seats. I would imagine that does happen, but I never encountered that.
Lady, didn't take your seat. I spent the €4 to get the reservation, all right? So do have a heads up for that. Now, sometimes you don't even realize you're upsetting people when you travel, and that's okay. And the Germans have a fantastic way of letting you know that you messed up. And that's when you hear, Hallo, when you hear someone say hello really loud, I mean, if it's soft, it's hello, it's like hello. But if it's hello, it's like hello, moron, you're doing something wrong. Whether you went in the wrong door to use.
Again, I never had any of that problem. I thought most people were actually very helpful. I do remember when we first got there, we didn't know how to get a ticket for a train to get to Frankfurt, or get to the hotel or the train station in Frankfurt, and there was a guy there, very very friendly. Just he asked if we needed help and showed us how to do it. It was very very nice.
Or you're in the wrong bathroom, or you're doing something you're not supposed to. Your kid's doing something stupid. Look, that hello will let you know that you upset somebody, all right? So just have a heads up when you hear that, because you'll be like, what's something here? It's just a way they get your attention, all right? Another thing you might do that might hurt your German friends' feelings is insinuate that they're cheap. Now, Germans are cool if you say they're frugal, they're economical, no problem with that. But if you insinuate that they're cheap, that's when they're like, hey, we're not cheap. We've got money. I'm like, yeah, I know. But the thing is if you talk to, in Canada and the U.S., you talk to waiters about tipping.
No, in the United States, if somebody says you're cheap, that's actually depends. Like it's a compliment or something like that. That's not the end of the world. But I could see, yeah. I mean, don't say, hey, you're cheap. That may not go over well.
They don't like German tourists because they don't tip as well. Now, they leave some money, but they don't usually leave the 15 to 20% like you're supposed to. They'll leave like 5% or $3 on a $100 bill, So it is one of those things that if you insinuate like, dude, that's kind of cheap, you'll see them be upset. And I'm sure in the comments below, you'll see those things there. Or you might invite them over to a party, like, hey, we're all bringing a potluck over, bring some food, and they might show up with some Maggi spaghetti instead of something else. So don't insinuate they're cheap. It won't go over well, all right?
I don't mind insinuating that if we're in the United States and I invite a German over here and I heard we're doing a potluck and they bring over something, come on, pal, get with the program, okay? You're not in, now if I'm in Germany and they invite something like that, that's a different animal, but come on.
Just say, very economical choice, very frugal choice, smart business move, okay? So have a heads up with that. Now, another thing that you'll learn very quickly is a way you're going to upset your German friends is if you try to take their food or their drink. Because in some countries...
Well, that's actually the same everywhere, I would think.
So when you order food, like everybody's food's kind of everybody else's and we can try this. Like we're in Italy, like, oh, try this, have some of this, have some of this.
Look, I went to a baseball game up in Cleveland, okay, and I ordered some nachos. And my brother goes, hey, can I have one? And I said, yeah. He takes the thing and then he passes it on down. And everybody, there's like 10 people, dives in and helps themselves to my nachos, which I did not give him permission to do. By the time I got my nachos back, they were half eaten and most of the cheese and salsa was already gone. I just threw it at him. I didn't hand it to him. I threw it at him and said, hey, you wanted it, you got it. It really ticked me off. That's something you just don't do. Okay, if you asked for one, yeah, help yourself. Have a nacho, not a problem. But I didn't tell him to hand it all down so everybody else could dive in. And that was, if you've been to the stadiums in the United States, it wasn't cheap. Okay, so.
This polenta. Portugal, it's like every plate is everybody's, right? In Germany, it's not that way. That's my bratwurst. That is my spätzle. That is my beer. You don't get it. And so if you go and take...
Yeah, that's what I like in Germany. Yeah, if you want something, you can ask, but don't take my food.
Some, especially without asking, it's going to upset them. And even if you do ask, they say yes. Just know in their mind they're like, ich wollte nein sagen. I wanted to say no, but they were very polite and said yes. So just know they don't like sharing their stuff. Okay?
I don't blame them.
Gotten this far in the video, another thing you might notice that Germans might not like and that you might upset them with is if you point out any of the eccentricities of the Germans and German culture. So look in the comments below and you'll notice.
I loved the eccentricities of the German behavior when I was there. I thought it was fantastic. I had no problem with it at all. And I certainly wasn't going to call them on it.
Comments of people like pointing out some things I'm messing up and how they're going to be right about it, okay? Now, another way you might upset Germans when you come here is if you recycle wrong. I mean, I lived here a number of years, and the recycle program here is legit. The Grüne Punkt, it's like this little arrow going around. It's called the green point. they have lots and lots of different kinds of recycling here. So it's not just paper and plastic, it's paper, plastic, glass, different kinds of glass, all kinds of stuff that's out there. They have that set up, and people are very serious about it. So you want to make sure you're putting the right stuff in the right recycle bin and the right garbage going in the right place, because they do a really good job with that. And it really upsets people when you don't. And there's things economically that will get you to incentivize you.
One of the things that I noticed about the German people and the German culture is that everything was very efficient. Okay, everything was done a specific way. It was done the right way. Well, not the right way. That's a per matter of opinion. But everything was done a specific way. You do this, you do this, you do this. And I did my best to follow it, and I didn't get any looks, so I think I did a good job. But yeah, I can certainly understand that. I mean, look, do things the right way, and don't screw around. Don't uh, rattle the cart. Just do things the right way, the way they're supposed to be done. And if you're ignorant about it, you can always ask.
To make sure recycling correctly, because they have these things called a fund, a deposit, like on beer glasses beer glasses, but like beer bottles and soda bottles and stuff like that. So you don't just throw it away, you take it back, get your money back, so they can recycle it easier. Okay, so be aware of that one. Now, my next one for you that might upset the Germans when you're here is if you drive in Germany not like a German.
I didn't drive on the Autobahn. I didn't drive in the car in Germany. It would have been nice to go on the Autobahn.
Look, Germans are very much, we're about our Auto, our car, right? And so they've got the Autobahn. When they're going way faster than you think you are, so move over. Because you staying in the left lane, that Indiana drivers, you can't do that here in Germany. You got to stay to the right, because people will pass you by. No matter how fast you think you're going, someone else is going to zoom past you in a Porsche, a BMW, or Mercedes, all right? And Germans do get upset when people don't drive the German way when they're here. So I do recommend maybe take a class about driving or watch some videos on driving in Germany before you come, because then you'll be better prepared.
That's sensible. I think that's a good idea to take class or watch videos on how you're supposed to drive. I think it would be sensible the other way if Germans come to the United States. There's a specific way, and also in different parts of the United States, like driving in California, which is if you think you're driving in California that you're sitting in a convertible with with your one hand on the wheel and driving 80 miles an hour down the freeway, get bent. That doesn't happen. Okay, you're basically sitting down on your ass, waiting. Takes 45 minutes to get to each exit. I mean, terrible. So congested.
And less likely to upset and get, not necessarily road rage, but just upset Germans driving next to you. And also, don't expect a really good cup holder for your big gulp.
Again, there's the Brandenburg Gates. That's where I was in Berlin. I remember walking underneath the Brandenburg Gates. Really, really nice place. I had no idea when I was there at the time that this is where the wall was. I didn't know that until I saw videos about the Berlin Wall.
In the German car, and they don't understand why. Okay, so leave that there. All right, and then I want to finish off by another thing that really upsets Germans, and that is if you make Nazi jokes.
Okay, that was what I first said, making things about World War II, and then now making talking about World War II is with the Nazis. I never did that, and I never would do that. The only closest thing we ever came to anybody me mentioned that we were on the train system. We were complimenting this. There was a German guy who asked to talk to my brother about what he thought about, which was also a nice thing, is they walked up to him and when they walk up to him, we were on the train, and they asked him, what did you think of the tournament? Were you enjoying it? And so forth. And he did good. And one thing my brother complimented on was how good the efficient the trains were. And he basically said, byproduct of the Nazis. He just said, yeah, Hitler wanted his trains to run on time. And I guess that's, a good thing. But no, I didn't make any Nazi jokes. I wasn't gonna get, In fact, I remember there was a British guy. I remember the British paper. I think it was what are the papers? I got the British papers in the morning, and there was a guy in Nuremberg, and he was doing this on the in Nuremberg, and so and the caption read, "England's shame," of this guy giving the giving that salute. At the tower in Nuremberg. The next day, they had to print a retraction because apparently all the guy was doing was just waving to his family down there, and they just happened to catch him, where it looks like he's doing the Nazi salute. But I found that very interesting. But yeah, you don't make Nazi jokes in Germany at all.
Okay, the history of Germany and the Nazi National Socialist Party that was in power here for a number of years, and World War II and the Holocaust and everything, is a horrible, it is a stain on the world history, not just German history, but the world's history. And if you make light of that, you make Nazi jokes, you make Hitler jokes and stuff like that, that does not go over well here. People do not like that. That is something that they're ashamed of themselves, and you may think it's
Even though they have nothing to do with it. A lot of the people in Germany had nothing to do. I mean, look, from 1945 to 1989, 90, around there, their country was divided. In fact, Berlin was divided: East Berlin, West Berlin, East Germany, West Germany. Okay, I grew up hearing about West Germany and East Germany. Okay, it wasn't until they reunified that they became Germany again, and I think uh, they're ashamed of that, and I completely agree with that. But what I would say to the German people, hey, when I was over there, you have nothing to be ashamed about with your country. It was a wonderful country to be in. And I understand about the past. What's past is past, but you've learned from it. You've moved forward from it. And I think you couldn't. I tell people all the time, if you ever have a chance to go to Germany, go to Germany. It's a wonderful country.
a fun joke. I'm poking fun at things. It's not. It is not something that you joke about when you are here, okay? Because that will upset the locals, and I just want you to know that, all right? So those are some ways that you might upset your German friends when you're here in Germany. But what are some ways you've accidentally upset some of your German friends? Let us know in the comment section below. Also, I have another video on how Germans get upset when they travel to the U.S., which is kind of a fun play on this video to give it from the other perspective when they go to the U.S. Anyway, I wish y'all the best. I'll say bye from here in Friday.
Okay, that was Walter's World, Ugly Tourists in Germany, How to Upset Germans, and I couldn't agree with him more on a lot of those things. Some of the things I did encounter, some things I did not. But yeah, please click like, share, and subscribe for him, and please click like, share, and subscribe for me. And thanks for watching this video. I appreciate it.